Third key thing to take away from today is talking about white and what white is. So we measure white in degrees Kelvin. Warmer, redder whites or more amber whites, or excuse me, more amber whites are down here at the lower end of this spectrum with lower degree numbers. Cooler, bluer fixtures are up here at this end. So our tungsten halogen, our source 4s, that kind of lives somewhere in here around the 3200K range. This image I found online, you've probably seen this if you've ever gone to Home Depot and you've looked at, or Lowe's, and you've looked at their light bulb display. They've got a little box that they show you all the color temperatures in a line. This is a good representation of that. So the challenge in today's world of stage lighting is we have so many different kinds of fixtures with different light sources in them. So in one rig, we might have upwards of 10 or more different kinds of sources. Whereas 10 years ago, if we didn't have moving lights on our show, we might have all source 4s all at the same color temperature as their home point. It was a little bit easier. Now we're dealing with arc lamps, LEDs, tungsten fixtures, fluorescent fixtures, all these different things. And sometimes even within those, bigger groups, you're going to have multiple sources of multiple kinds of arc lamp. You're going to have multiple kinds of LED. A Mac 2K looks different than a VL3500, looks different than a clay Paki fixture. They're all going to be slightly different. So part of our job as lighting professionals is to figure out how to make all of those things work together in harmony. Some worlds, in TV world and the film world, that could mean adjusting them to all be as close to the same as possible. In other places, it's using those differences purposely in the design. So for example, in my design work, most of the shows I'm doing now have all kinds of different fixtures in them, a lot of moving lights, a lot of LEDs. So I tend to kind of lean more towards the idea of figuring out how to make all these systems work in harmony. One of my favorite examples of that is doing really saturated color washes that are then cut through with really cold white arc light. So if you look at this is a picture from Hairspray, just in visible light on stage, we've got these little LEDs on the back here. We've got an LED, this red coming in from behind. We've got a template wash from above. We have a special down here. There's all kinds of things, and I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 6 different white points of different kinds of white that are coming out of these different emitters from all these different fixture types we have. So in this particular case, we lean into it a little bit. Where it becomes challenging with all of these sources, of course, not only do they have different white points, they also have different dimming curves. They do different things as they dim up or they dim down. That is more of a frustration in my work than necessarily having different whites. Of course, there are times where we'll roll in some CTO or some amber gel or some amber color to help match our arc lights to our incandescence a little bit. But having the flexibility to do that is what's super cool and super important to me. CTO is color temperature orange versus CTB, which would be color temperature blue. So basically, if you've ever had a moving light, actually I can show you this real quick. Let me pull up. If you've ever got a moving light and you start rolling and you've got this CTO wheel right here, basically what this is it's a dichroic glass, typically filter or dichroic glass wheel that's in your moving light, just like the CMY wheels are. And it goes from open white to more saturated amber or a warmer color temperature. What that color temperature is depends on what moving light you're doing. If you're working with regular gel, if you look in the front of your swatch, especially in the front of your Roscoe swatch book, you'll see all kinds of color correction filters. It'll say, like, here's R3206. Boost 3200K to 3800K. So if you've got a whole bunch of lights that are 3800K and you've got one that is 3200K, I could put this gel in front of it and it's going to match it to those other things. So there's all kinds of gels in your books that do that for matching fluorescence or taking fluorescence and matching them in incandescence, et cetera, et cetera. So those are kind of our two worlds, right? So yeah, so I don't spend a whole lot of time trying to match my sources unless that's a particular need for the show. If I was doing a straight play now that had a bunch of different kinds of sources in it, I would probably spend more time trying to match those things than I would if I was doing a large musical. Again, most of my musical theater work is big, bright, saturated color that's got bright white follow spots cutting through it and bright white backlights that are cutting through it. So I'm not doing a whole lot of trying to match with that, unless I'm doing like a book scene where they're taking place inside, and I could just roll that color temperature orange or that warming filter into that light a little bit, and now it looks like an incandescent fixture all of a sudden.